Imagine this. You walk into your local supermarket and spot an Appassionante wine, rated 4.2 on Vivino, priced at just $7. In no time, you and your mom have snatched up the last few bottles off the shelves. Now, here's the kicker. The very same. Wine is getting a fancy gourmet makeover at another chain, complete with a new label and a price tag of $300. Today, we're diving into some wild stories, from the shocking frauds pulled off by Rudy Kurniawan to the revolutionary shift that brands like Yellowtail are sparking in the wine industry. Get ready to question everything you thought you knew about wine. At checkout, the surprise keeps coming. A rep from the brand, fresh off a stock refill, asked who grabbed the final 9 bottles. In a laid-back chat, she let slip that this same wine would soon reappear at a different supermarket as a premium gourmet version, costing $300. This got us thinking. While retailers often use exclusive products to set themselves apart, sometimes there's something much deeper at play. For ages, wine has been synonymous with sophistication, a luxury reserved for those who can afford to splurge on this liquid art. But experiences like this, and other eye-opening episodes, show that the story we've been told might be all smoke and mirrors. Remember the documentary Sour Grape, 2016? It challenges the mystique by reminding us that wine is just crushed, fermented grapes. No magical transformation separates a homemade batch from a bottle in a famed cellar. This brings us to the infamous tale of Rudy Kurniawan, an Indonesian native who built an empire by buying and selling rare, high-priced wines at auctions. Rudy charmed everyone with a charisma that made him seem trustworthy. Using that very charm, he deceived even the most seasoned wine aficionados, orchestrating one of the largest fraud schemes the industry has ever seen. What's even more astonishing is that many so-called wine experts, the very people we trust, were duped without ever suspecting a thing. It begs the question, do wine gurus really know their stuff? Is there a genuine difference between the supermarket wines we casually pick up and those auctioned off for tens of thousands of dollars? And if there is, what truly determines a wine's value? Is it its essence, its history, or simply a label that screams exclusivity? To grasp the magnitude of Rudy's deception, let's rewind. Born in Jakarta, Rudy arrived in the US on a student visa to study in California. In 2003, even after his visa expired, he decided to stay, fueled by a budding career in the wine world. His journey began in the charming Woodland Hills neighborhood of Los Angeles, where at just 24, he walked into a renowned wine shop, not to buy, but to sell a wine. That bold move was an early hint of the entrepreneurial spirit, and perhaps the recklessness that would later spiral into fraud. Impressed by his genuine curiosity and uncanny ability to recall flavor profiles, the shopkeepers took him under their wing. Rudy started attending tastings and auctions, eventually spending around $1 million a month on coveted bottles. His reputation for extravagance and a refined palate earned him a special place among the elite. Some collectors even dubbed him Dr. Conti, a nod to the legendary Domaine de la Romane Conti, whose bottles can fetch astronomical prices. Think a 1993 bottle sold for nearly 24,000 euros in Portugal, or a 1990 vintage valued at 250,000 reais in São Paulo. Between 2003 and 2006, Rudy's star only grew brighter. He was even rumored to have possibly the best wine cellar on earth. He shattered on auction records, raking in nearly $25 million and outdoing previous benchmarks. Yet behind all the glitz, no one suspected a thing. Until 2007. That's when winery reps started noticing odd inconsistencies on some labels and tipped off the auction house. A closer look revealed bottles with impossible production dates that didn't match up with the era when those wines were even made. When questioned, Rudy would shrug it off with a nonchalant, "We tried our best, but hey, it's Burgundy. Sometimes crap happens." As his credibility crumbled, the stakes got higher. In 2009, entrepreneur Bill Koch, fed up with Rudy's blatant disregard for honesty, filed a lawsuit, accusing him of knowingly selling fake bottles at auctions and in private deals. On top of that, Rudy was charged with defaulting on a $10 million loan from a major auction house. Then the FBI entered the picture. Rumors began swirling among Rudy's inner circle, with whispers that perhaps he was the mastermind behind the fraud all along. Investigators dug into his murky immigration status, stoking fears he might flee the country. In the early hours of March 8, 2012, FBI agents raided his home in Arcadia, California, and arrested him. The search uncovered thousands of wine labels, hundreds of corks, both old and new, and a full-fledged forgery toolkit, rubber stamps, glues, scissors, label molds, and even instructions on replicating the seals of famous wine brands. The evidence was damning. Rudy had been counterfeiting wines for years, selling ordinary wine dressed up in fraudulent labels. It later turned out that Rudy Kurniawan was a facade. His real name was Zhen Wanghuang, now known as the biggest wine fraudster in history. He was sentenced in 2014 to 10 years in prison, ordered to pay back $28 million, and hit with an extra $20 million in tax-related penalty. Even today, the total number of his victims remains uncertain. But one thing's for sure, the credibility of the wine market was forever tarnished. After serving 7 years, Rudy was released at the end of 2020 and, a few months later, deported, putting an end to his controversial chapter in the U.S. But the damage was done. His downfall left us with a lingering question. Do wine experts really know what they're talking about? Or is it all just an elaborate act where everyone pretends to know more than they do? During his years of deceit, many of these so-called connoisseurs raved about his wines, blissfully unaware they were tasting fakes. Friends, tasting partners, even critics were left in shock once the truth came out. This revelation forced a lot of experts to rethink the very foundations of enology. How did these glaring inconsistencies go unnoticed? Is there really a universal standard for what makes a wine great, or are we all just speculating? And if it's all mere speculation, what really sets apart a rare wine from one made by an everyday winery? Today, the global wine market is a behemoth, moving around $350 billion, and it's increasingly intertwined with technology. Apps like Vivino have democratized wine knowledge, letting everyday consumers rate and share their experiences. Transparency eyes on the rise too, with blockchain initiatives being used to verify the origin and quality of wines. Clearly, the wine world isn't stuck in the past. Even as some experts cling to the old notion that wine's prestige is inherently tied to high prices, a subtle revolution is underway. Enter the story of Yellowtail, an Australian brand that's challenging the idea that great wine has to come with an exclusive price tag. Yellowtail was born from the vision of an Italian immigrant family running a sizable vineyard in Australia. Originally, they sold bulk grapes and made their own wine, but over time, the brand started gaining traction locally. In 2001, an American importer spotted the potential and invested in distributing Yellowtail wines worldwide. Their mission: to offer a straightforward product for everyday wine lovers, simple production, honest pricing, and no fuss. Market research uncovered a surprising trend. Even those who once splurged on pricey wines craved a bold, fruity flavor without needing fancy descriptors like dry notes or oak nuances. In short, people wanted wine that was easy to pick and, most importantly, enjoyable to drink, perfect for a relaxed dinner with family and friends. Yellowtail's approach was a runaway success. With clear labels, accessible prices, and straightforward messaging, their wines quickly won over the market. By 2020, Yellowtail was among the world's top 5 best-selling wine brands, a testament to how a simple idea, paired with a keen understanding of consumer taste, can disrupt an age-old industry. This is often cited as a classic blue ocean strategy, where innovation and differentiation carve out an entirely new market space away from the cutthroat red ocean of traditional competition. But the conversation doesn't stop there. For centuries, the wine industry has been built on the notion that a good wine must be both exclusive and expensive. Yellowtail has proven that quality wine can and should come at a fair price. This shift mirrors a broader trend. Today's consumers are smarter, more informed, and demand transparency and authenticity. The rising popularity of organic and biodynamic wines as people seek out sustainable options is just one example of this change. This transformation isn't limited to wine. Luxury brands like Balenciaga, Apple, Gucci, and Rolex often face criticism for prices that seem far removed from actual production costs. It's all about branding. The customer isn't just paying for a product, but for a story, a marketing dream, and a sense of status. Even luxury bottled water has joined the fray, proving that perceived value can sometimes outshine real value. Here's the bottom line. No one is forced to pay top dollar for a product that doesn't make sense to them. Yellowtail teaches us that every market, wine or otherwise, can and should be reimagined, with technology making information more accessible than ever. It's clear that quality and fair pricing can coexist. And perhaps this is just the beginning of a revolution toward more mindful, transparent consumption. So, what do you really think about the wine industry? Are we all caught up in an exclusive narrative that falls apart under scrutiny? Drop a comment below. Share this video with that friend who proudly calls themselves a wine connoisseur, even if we sometimes have to laugh at our own pretensions. And let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, because there's always more to discover in the world of wine. Thanks for watching, and here's a big virtual cheers.